Alright YouTube, it's midnight here in Western North Carolina, and I am making a decision to take this car to drive from Asheville to Raleigh, North Carolina, which is about 4-hour drive non-stop without stopping for fuel. And we're gonna take the Corolla, see how this goes. So first off, let's talk about the first speed bump in this trip, which was that the keys for this car are about a half hour away from me. So I'm freaking out, trying to figure out, the car's not locked, so I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get this thing started without going another half hour, 35 minutes back to get this thing going. So I go through my keys, I find the keys for my AW11, and also find the keys for my 82 Celica back there. The Celica keys, no good, nothing, not gonna work. So I say, let me grab my other Toyota key. Let's just see. Oh, okay. Well, it turns the lock, but let's just see if it'll turn the ignition. Surely this key won't start this car. Absolutely not. Huh. WOXL-FM and WOXL. Well, I stand corrected. Now mind you, the Celica key wouldn't do that. I don't think necessarily it's the key or the car. I just think that this key and this Corolla key are equally worn. So since this car has not really had a whole lot of miles put on it since it was repaired recently, naturally we should look the car over, make sure everything's fine. Now, I did do this already, but I have not touched anything, so I figured I would point out some things. One, start with coolant. No one wants to go on a 4-hour road trip and not maybe have enough coolant in the radiator. So, okay, all the coolant's in there. A little nastiness going on here. Kind of an old radiator. So check the dipstick. We're good there. Power steering fluid completely topped off. Brake fluid and clutch fluid completely topped off with some extra to spare. Look at everything over here just to kind of make sure everything's right. Really, everything looks old. Everything looks complicated with these old vacuum lines and carburetor. Look at this nasty thing right here. Look at all those vacuum lines. But oddly enough, let's see. Oh, this thing even already has washer fluid in it. I didn't have to put anything in that either. So we've got some extra fluids in the car. Oil change was done. Really, this thing should be in good shape. And kind of looking things over for any kind of leaks or problems. It looks like, for the most part, we're doing okay on the brake and clutch master cylinders. Only leak of oil that I have found is back underneath the distributor here. It looks like possibly the distributor O-ring's leaking. Ironically though, the distributor, if you notice, look at the dirty valve cover, look at the dirty shock tower, dirty there, and if you look, the distributor cap looks kind of fresh compared to the rest. Maybe there's some dust. Even these wires look kind of newer. So I think someone's either just done the plugs and the wires and maybe the distributor cap, or possibly even the whole distributor. I mean, this thing cranks up and runs just fine, oddly enough. So preliminary checks complete. Belts are all in good shape. Belts are tight. Somehow the AC compressor's hooked up, even though fairly certain it doesn't run. The belt is the loosest on that. Look at that. There's even a Toyota belt. I don't know if you can see it. Toyota OEM belt. So, as far as I can tell, this thing's ready for a road trip. Let's see how this goes. Well, we're now in hour 2 of the drive from Asheville to Raleigh, and so far it's actually been uneventful. minus it just being kind of late, me being kind of tired. The car is actually driving really well. I really can't complain too much, especially for the age of this vehicle and for the fact that I really haven't done anything except for that wheel bearing. The steering wheel is almost dead straight. It's like maybe 1 degree off. The steering wheel has a very, very light shake to it, which could be a number of things, but it doesn't actually have a vibration. I think it's just possibly just the feeling of the road through the tires, through the suspension in this car. I forget how dark these dashboards are. The gauge cluster is good. The gauge cluster is like a, you know, kind of like a green color of just what's behind the steering wheel. But if it's not behind the steering wheel, you don't see anything else. You can't see. There's nothing for the light switches. There's nothing for the wiper switches. There's absolutely nothing for the radio except for the power light, and if the station is in stereo. There's nothing. There's nothing on the dashboard for the air controls, the vents. There's nothing. I mean, I can, during the daytime, there's like the label across the front, and it seems to be like it's kind of like red or burgundy, and maybe it's faded, but it's, even in the daytime, it's hard to read. At nighttime, there's literally just a black hole to the right of the steering wheel. There's just nothing there. Good news is you really just have to hit the volume knob and the tuner knob on the radio, but otherwise oil pressure is dead center. The coolant temp is dead center. The fuel gauge is all over the place. I've noticed that the fuel gauge, last time I filled it up, only went up to about halfway, which tells me that there's probably something going on with the sending unit and the tank there. And right now I filled it up to full, and the gauge read to full, but then it like goes down and then it goes back up. Like I literally just probably 10 miles ago filled up, and in the parking lot it said it was full, and right now it says 3/4. So either the gauge is not reading right, or we have a massive fuel leak somewhere. So I started a spreadsheet tracker. I imagine I'm going to fill up gas one more time when I get to Raleigh, and I will track the mileage and see if the mileage is about right for this car, or if there's something going on with that. More than likely it's just the sending unit. It's probably just old. Before it was stuck, it was hung up for a while, so I think it's probably just not making good contact. I might can pull it out and clean it at some point, and for all I know, it might not even be plugged in or grounded correctly. I've seen that issue before as well. But you know, again, the car doesn't pull left, the car doesn't pull right. As you've seen with the other videos, it has horribly blown struts. Like, it's insane. So I'm on the interstate doing like 65, 70 miles an hour. RPM gauge is like dead flat at 3 to 3.5 thousand RPM, and really, again, no vibration. The gearbox, there's no vibration or anything from the shifter. Nothing's going on there. But every time I go over a bridge or the pavement changes, especially if there's like a really big pothole or something similar, that wasn't too bad. But if I hit a really good one, the front end's definitely bouncing around. It's, you know, it takes a good 2 or 3 rebounds before it actually settles back out. But overall, except for that, which is like that regardless of where I've driven it, I think we're going to make it to Raleigh just fine. I don't think we're going to have any issues. I will update in a little bit. Alright, so we're going to try to catch some bouncy suspension. Yep. Oh, still bouncing. Yep, still going. Still. Now we're level.